Welcome back, everybody, to this special report, Ruining Elections Through Ranked Choice Voting. I'm your host, John Solomon, and joining the program now is Catherine Gunsalus, who serves as the Director of State Advocacy for our proud sponsor organization tonight, Heritage Action for America. She, along with the other folks at Heritage, have been on the front lines in nearly every state in our union, battling back against the type of election system that is in danger of being eradicated. Catherine, great to have you back on the show right now.
Hi, John. It's so great to be here. Thanks so much.
If you told me when I got into political reporting 30 years ago, we'd be having a conversation about a multiple choice election, I would have laughed. But we're getting into this ranked choice voting. A couple states are there, a lot of communities looking at it right outside of Washington, Arlington. This is spreading, but so also is the counter effort, right, to stop these things in states across the country.
That's right. We're seeing amazing momentum across the country by state lawmakers that are stepping up to the plate and the grassroots that are saying, we're not okay with this ranked choice voting in our state, and we're actually going to do something about it, as well as preventing this attack by proponents of RCV to push millions of dollars into a state like Missouri to try to get it on the ballot. And so We're seeing great momentum to push back on RCV in the states.
Yeah, that's so important. It happens because real voters talk to their policymakers, their leaders, their elected leaders. You do so much at Heritage Action through the grassroots. And a lot of people say, well, does that really make a difference? And the answer is it does. Georgia and Utah give us two really good examples, don't they?
You're exactly right. They really did. So this past legislative session, we saw two attempts to either expand or to implement ranked choice voting in the states. So one example comes in Utah, where they already have RCV at the local level, but state lawmakers tried to introduce a bill that would have expanded that to the entire state. Heritage Action, along with our other partners, rallied and sent an alert out to the grassroots in which the American people stepped up and sent hundreds of emails into a small committee for the hearing opposing that move and saying, we're not okay with ranked choice voting being expanded in our state. Incredible momentum there. And then in Georgia, where lawmakers presented a pro-RCV bill, we worked to actually stall that in committee and create it so they would not actually advance to a vote through grassroots voice alone. So if you're ever wondering, does this really matter? Does my email really get to lawmakers? The answer is absolutely it does, especially at the state level when these 15-member committees are meeting, trying to figure out what is the right policy here. Your voice actually matters the most. So as the American people.
We've seen that. We saw that in the election integrity debate of 2021 in Georgia as well. Boy, the grassroots, every day Americans can make a huge difference just by getting involved. Now, Heritage Action has lots of tools. It also has an initiative called Save Our Elections. Tell us a little bit about what happens when you go to Save Our Elections, the sort of tools and support that someone who joins the fight will get there.
Absolutely. So when you go to saveourelections.com, you find, number one, you'll find a wealth of resources. You'll find links to the Heritage Foundation's Election Integrity Scorecard, which ranks states according to how great of election policy they have on the books. And you'll also find resources to sign up and get alerts, action alerts when legislative sessions start back in 2024. You want to be engaged. You want to get those alerts from Heritage Action state directors. You can do that by signing up at saveourelections.com. And you'll also see a link to how to stop RCV in your state, how to make sure that there's model legislation that's getting passed in your state that preemptively bans RCV in your state. And so you can find all of those links, all of those resources at saveourelections.com, as well as a wealth of resources from the foundation, Heritage Foundation, that have written on this topic and really unpacks the threat that ranked choice voting is to our nation.
Yeah, such a good point and such great tools. I refer to them regularly as a journalist. They're so important. Catherine, I want to ask a little bit about what arguments seem to be resonating with lawmakers. When lawmakers get a proposal like this, they're often uneducated at the beginning too. There's a process of them learning. There's been really strong pushback from some of the local NAACPs and other organizations saying, hey, one of the problems with ranked choice voting is that it actually disenfranchises minority voters. That's, I think, a surprise to many lawmakers. What arguments besides that one are making a difference?
Well, number one, and something we've talked about for so long and fought for a while now in the States, is we want to make it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And ranked choice voting actually does the opposite of that. It actually makes it harder to vote. something that none of us support here. And so the biggest examples of how this is problematic is it decreases our transparency in elections, makes it harder to do a recount. You can do virtually no hand recount with ranked choice voting, the way that it's set up. It's all electronic. And then it makes it harder to vote. You're looking at voters that will have ballot fatigue in some ways, maybe having to choose up to 14, 16 candidates on a ballot for one race. This is not about making it easier to vote. A ranked choice voting makes it harder to vote and easier to cheat, removing transparency, removing accountability from our elections. And frankly, it's not what we're seeing the American people want, the grassroots want. And that's simply by the way that they've stepped up to the plate and made their voice heard to lawmakers saying, we're not okay with RCV in our state. So that's some of the dangers of ranked choice voting.
They really are. And the more people learn about it, the more they go, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Stop this. And I think that's such a great moment in there. You run the Grassroots Army. It's a really remarkable thing to watch, all the work that you do. There are so many different people. There are students that get involved all the way up to retirees and everybody in between. Talk a little bit about some of the programs that train people to get ready to make a difference in this country, the Sentinel Program, other programs where you're really creating a grassroots civics army.
Absolutely. The Sentinel program, the Sentinel Nation, as we like to call it, is the tip of the spear. These are Americans that are stepping up, are saying, we're going to talk to our lawmaker, we're going to talk to our members of Congress, and we're going to make sure that they know that our voice is heard on a plethora of issues, election integrity being a primary issue that Sentinels lobby on at both the state level. And so Sentinel is a great program, a great thing to get involved in. It's really the lifeblood of Heritage Action and what we do and how we do it. And so you can go to heritageaction.com and join our Sentinel Nation and get it plugged in there. And that is really one of the main things I like to see as I oversee our state lobbying in the states is lawmakers want to know that their constituents, they want to hear from their constituents. And I have found no better way to reach your lawmaker, to stay up to date with things as legislative sessions move so quickly during the state legislative sessions, is no better way than the Sentinel program is to get plugged in with a state director, build those relationships, and then work with them to testify in committee, to send an email, to make a phone call, to go do a lobby day at the Capitol. That is truly the best way is to join Sentinel, to get plugged in and to make your voice heard, especially as we head into the 2024 legislative sessions.
Oh, no doubt. And I'll tell you, I got the blessing this past November to hang out at the Sentinel conference, and it was so eye-opening to me. First, the quality of the people, the training and the resources, and then also the commonality of purpose. We talk about a lot of civics gaps in America. There's a great civics movement occurring in Heritage Action right now, the Sentinel Program and all the others that flow from it, doing such great work, Catherine. It's such an honor to have you on the show. One more time, people want to get in the fight against ranked choice voting, where do they go?
It's saveourelections.com, heritageaction.com. Those will be your best resources. You can find links to the scorecard, links to model legislation, and how to get in touch with your state lawmaker.
Yeah, important stuff. Like I say, I use it almost every day as a reporter. Such great resources. Catherine, great honor to have you on your show. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a partner on this conversation today.
Thanks so much, John.
All right, folks, we'll be right back with more conversations on election issues with the founder and executive director of Save Our States, Trent England. He'll be joining us right after.